everybody, and thanks for tuning in to MetriSight, a podcast from Metrigy. I'm Beth Schultz, Metrigy's Vice President of Research and Principal Analyst, and with me today is my colleague, Irwin Lazar, who is President and Principal Analyst responsible for our workplace collaboration research. Today we're going to be talking about our latest Metrigy Awards, Workplace Collaboration MetriStar. The MetriStar program stems from our annual global buy-side MetriCast studies. And in these studies, we ask IT and other company leaders to tell us about their adoption and spending plans, their plans to change providers, when and why, as well as to rate their providers on a number of criteria and to share business success metrics. From these latter two, we recognize providers that receive at or above average customer sentiment scores and whose customers achieved high business success. We've just gone public with winners of our 2023 Workplace Collaboration MetriStar Awards, and Irwin is here to share the details. Welcome, Irwin.
Thanks, Beth. It's good to see you and be on the MetriSight again.
Okay, so let's start off with just some basic Workplace Collaboration MetriCast background. What can you tell us in terms of participants, the technologies covered, etc.?
Yeah, so the Workplace Collaboration MetriCast is kind of our umbrella for our data gathering and generates a number of different deliverables out of that. One is the MetriStar Awards program that we'll talk about in a little bit. The other are what we call our MetriRank and market forecast reports that look at overall trends in the market, how spending is changing. On the MetriRank, we look at a broader set of criteria to evaluate vendors. We look at a number of different collaboration technologies within the Workplace Collaboration MetriCast. We went out to 1,418 participants. This was a global study. Participants came from North America, Western Europe, Southeast Asia, and Australia. This isn't a sponsored study. It's one that we do as part of our MetriCast research service. And what we wanted to understand were what the experiences that people were having with their communication collaboration vendors. And then what were they? What are their plans for how their spending will change, how their vendor selection will change, and so on. So we covered a number of core technologies. We looked at unified communication as a service and on-prem phone systems to kind of cover that real-time communication piece. We also broke down in a little bit more detail, covering areas like meeting applications and team collaboration applications. We covered endpoints ranging from video conferencing room systems to personal devices to headsets, to desktop IP telephones. We looked at how some of the management platforms that people use for performance management and administration management. And finally, we looked at SIP trunking services for how people are connecting both their on-prem as well as many of the cloud communication services to the PSTN.
And we just released the MetriStar Award winners, correct?
Yeah, the MetriStar Award winners went up on our site on August 15th. We had our press release, which is also available on our website. We have a number of reports that are available individually for purchase or are available to clients who subscribe to our MetriCast research service.
Okay, so walk us through a little bit more about the MetriStar award process. We talked about customer sentiment and business success. What does that mean? And then how are we awarding companies across the MetriStar categories?
Yeah, so MetriStar is a program that we've done now for the last 3 years. And I think really the key differentiator for MetriStar compared to other services products out there is we're not the ones picking the award winners. We create the methodology, but ultimately it's our research participants that select the award winners. So in MetriStar, there are two primary different areas that we look at. First is customer sentiment. We ask participants who their providers are. We ask them who their primary provider is. And then we ask them to rate that primary provider on a number of different criteria. Some of the criteria are the same across all of the different technologies. So we might be asking about things like customer service and support, aka responsiveness to problems, value of what you get for what you spend, technology, innovation, reliability, things like that. We also customize some of those questions based on the service or product that we're looking at. So for example, in the UCaaS space, we would be asking about voice quality. Might be asking about mean time to recover or mean time to repair if we're looking at performance management tools. So we customize some of those customer sentiment areas based again on the specific technologies. So that's the first area. is how do the customers rate their providers. The second area is business success. So we asked participants for each of the different technologies, have you measured any improvement in value as a result of using that technology? Again, these questions will also vary based on the specific technology that we're looking at. For most applications, we're looking at gains in productivity, we're looking at reduction in operating costs, and we might be looking at improvements in revenue. So if I implement a new video tool that makes it easier for me to communicate with my customers, my prospects, and the end result is we've increased our close rate by 15-20%, that's a real measurable value. If I'm implementing a UC administration management platform for provisioning and dealing with inventory management of user accounts, and that shortens my initial provisioning time and also shortens my ongoing management time, again, that would be an area where we would look at success. So what we do is we take those success numbers and we calculate the percentage of people who are above average, and then we correlate them with the vendors that they're using. So we look at the percentage of each vendor's customers that are in that success group. The success group, again, being those who had above average success. And that's how we get our business success. So the MetriStar results are a correlation of companies that did well on customer sentiment, meaning their customers really liked them and they rated them highly, and they achieved measurable business success. So that kind of defines the core MetriStar. Now, we also not only we recognize MetriStar winners who had high customer sentiment and high business success, but we also recognize those who had high customer sentiment, but maybe business success wasn't as high, or vice versa. They had high representation of their customers who had business success, but not necessarily had a lot of customers who rated their products and services high. So those are the three areas. Again, customer sentiment, business success, and then the overall MetriStar award winner.
So there's 8 technology categories that you looked at for the workplace collaboration MetriStars, right? Give me a sense of how many companies and how many ratings that came in through this program.
Yeah, there were 8 areas that we looked at. Unified Communications as a Service, meeting applications, team collaboration applications. On the devices side, we looked at headsets, we looked at room video conferencing systems, we looked at on the management side, both UC administration, UC performance management, and we looked at SIP trunking. It varies by each of the different services. So certainly when we looked at things like Unified Communication as a Service, it's roughly 30% of the market. So out of that 1,418 participants, roughly 30% would have been using UCaaS. On some of the other applications like team messages, as an example, we see roughly 70-80% adoption of that tool today. Video conferencing room systems might have been higher. So it's generally within the hundreds in each one. Now, we publish data on specific vendors and how they did, but we do have a cutoff. So if a vendor didn't get at least 5% of the responses, we're not going to include them because we don't feel comfortable publishing data for vendors where we have a very small number of data points.
We'll get to winners in a second, but any other notes that you have about this whole process before we do that?
I think it's interesting to look at a couple of things. Certainly, the customer sentiment scores. When we look at them in total, the area of customer sentiment that's generally the lowest was customer service. So we label it as responsiveness to problems and questions. Almost across the board, that was a low area. The performance of the applications, reliability of the applications tended to be pretty high. So for the most part, if you kind of take the UC market in our workplace collaboration market in aggregate, people are generally pretty happy with the products and services that they're getting. Not necessarily as happy with the support. And I should also add, we don't rate specific products. So we're looking at experiences with the vendor. So if a vendor offers, multiple different kinds of services, multiple license types, et cetera, we're not looking at those specific ones. We're just looking, again, at the overall vendor. And then, we're also, the vendor's scores may be impacted by how the customers work with that vendor. So if I buy from a channel and that channel is not good, it's going to reflect poorly on the vendor. Again, so a number of different ways of looking at the results of this research.
That's a good point. The whole channel, the channel play here, right? Okay, you want to walk us through the winners, Irwin?
Sure. So as I mentioned, we announced these winners on August 15th, but I'll go through each one of them. On the Unified Communication as a Service, our overall MetriStar winners were 8x8, Google, Microsoft, and Zoom. So that's cloud-based telephony. We define UCaaS as it has to have a telephony component, meaning connects out to the PSTN. Obviously, all of those UCaaS providers have other features, other applications within their service. There were two companies that scored high on customer sentiment, but not as high on business success. Those were Comcast and Verizon Business. We didn't have anybody who scored high on business success, but low on sentiment. On the meeting app side, we had three MetriStar winners. They were BlueJeans by Verizon, Google, and GoTo. Unfortunately, in the time we gathered the data to the time we announced it, Verizon announced that they were end-of-lifing BlueJeans. But congratulations to the folks who worked on that service. Obviously, it's unfortunate that the service is being discontinued. High sentiment scores for Cisco, high business success scores for Zoom. Team collaboration, Google and Slack were our MetriStar winners. We had high sentiment scores for Cisco and Microsoft, and high business success scores for Zoom. On the room video system one, this was one where it was a lot more wide open. We had a lot of vendors in this space. We published ratings data for 9 vendors. Hudley was our MetriStar winner. Hudley is a manufacturer of room camera systems. They also work with a number of partners to deliver platforms or to embed their cameras into other partner platforms. On the sentiment side was where we had a lot of companies who didn't necessarily show a high business success, but showed high customer sentiment. And that was AudioCode, Cisco, HP Poly, Logitech, Microsoft, Yealink, and ZTE. And then we also had one vendor who had a high percentage of customers who had achieved measurable business success, but didn't do as well on the sentiment side, and that was Owl Labs. On the UC administration management front, we had Unimax was our MetriStar winner. Administration management tools typically used for provisioning and managing user account, number information, and so on. We had a number of providers that had high sentiments, AudioCodes and VOS, and Acadian and Kermi who had high business success. We also looked at performance management. This is things like voice and video quality management. We didn't actually have anyone in this category who had both high customer sentiment and high customer success. We did have 3 sentiment winners, Martello, Unisys, and VOS, and we had 2 business success winners, AudioCodes and IR. And then the last 2 was SIP trunking. We had 2 MetriStar winners, AT&T and Bandwidth. And then so SIP trunking, again, could be for existing on-prem platforms as well as bring your own carrier services connecting into a UCaaS provider. Again, we had a lot of providers in this space, more than 20 that we gathered ratings for. 3 high sentiment winners are companies, Deutsche Telekom, Optus, and Verizon, and 2 with high business success, BT and Orange. And then lastly, the MetriStar Awards for headsets. We had 5 MetriStar winners here. They were Bose, Cisco, EPOS, JBL, and Microsoft. We had 1 provider, Sony, that had high customer sentiment but lower business success, and we didn't have anybody in the business success. So lots of different providers, lots of different technologies, and congratulations to the winners.
Yep, let me repeat that. Congratulations, that's great. Okay, this isn't the first year that we've done MetriStar. So any notable differences that you've seen year to year?
I'd say a couple. I mean, so both surprises and I guess noticeable differences. Zoom is relatively new to the phone, the UCaaS side, and they scored extremely well. Overall, a MetriStar winner. Microsoft actually scored really well this year, although in past years they hadn't scored as well on some of the sentiment ratings. So, congratulations to them. There were some vendors that we were not hoping, but we kind of expected to see that we didn't, that didn't show up on high on the ratings or that didn't have any success, whether the sentiment or business success. That's always a challenge, for companies. In the UCaaS side, we saw that Cisco and RingCentral didn't make our list. I think, again, a lot of diversity of providers that are out there. The SIP trunking for us was new this year, so having north of 20 providers makes it a little more interesting to see who's using them, how they're being used in different parts of the world. So I think those are probably the kind of the key takeaways. We do have the 2022 winners, which was our last one, and we also announced winners in 21. Both of those reports are available on our website to our clients or for individual purchase.
Okay, great. Now, Irwin, what's next for your workplace collaboration MetriCast service?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, MetriStar is just part of our overall MetriCast offering. Diane Myers is working diligently on the next set of deliverables. The first one will be a workplace collaboration MetriRank. And so what MetriRank is, we just recently published one on the contact center side. What MetriRank does is it looks at what we covered earlier. It looks at business sentiment. It looks at our customer sentiment and business success, but it also adds in some additional factors, looking at market size, market growth, financial performance of the company, and allows us to establish a ranking of top providers within the space. So we'll publish our MetriCast, our MetriRank for workplace collaboration. Our Unified Communications as a Service is the one we're publishing. That'll be published shortly. And then we'll be publishing our MetriCast market forecast, which looks at all of the different areas that we talked about, calling, meetings, endpoints, messaging, management, SIP, et cetera. And it looks at what's happening from a spending perspective within each of those areas. So are people increasing their spend, decreasing their spend, by how much? How do we project those markets to grow or maybe shrink over the next 3 to 5 years? And then what's happening on a vendor standpoint? So which vendors are picking up customers? Which vendors are losing customers? You'll see what we call our gain and retain charts. So all of that's yet to come. You can expect to see that in the next couple of weeks.
All right, great. That's a ton of stuff, but I know it's not the only thing that you're working on. So what else is on your research agenda for the rest of the year, Irwin?
Yeah, it's a busy fall. I've got 2 studies that are going on right now, side by side. One is a refresh of some data we published a couple of years ago on unified communications total cost of ownership. So we're looking at UCTCO for cloud-based services. We're trying to understand what are companies spending on licensing and what are they spending on operational costs to own and manage the solutions. How does that break down on vendor? How does it break down by architecture? So we'll look both at UC as a service, and also on-prem. So that'll be published. We're looking at the September timeframe for that one. And then we're working on a study now called Unified Communications and Contact Center Security and Compliance. It's a deep dive into how are companies addressing the security and compliance needs of their communication and collaboration and customer engagement applications. So who has responsibility for setting policy and budgets and defining what needs to be done, who's handling the enforcements, what are the risks that people are worried about, how are they evaluating their providers, how are they establishing budgets, and how are they measuring a return on investment for any spending that they might be making to improve their security and compliance posture.
Be looking forward to seeing the results of both of those. Some good stuff coming our way, I'm sure. So listeners, if you're interested in learning more about our MetriCast service or any other of our research, we'd be happy to hear from you. Please do reach out to us via the contact button on the Metrigy website, which is www.metrigy.com. And that's all for now. On behalf of the Metrigy team, goodbye till next time, and take care, everybody.